Hello everybody, welcome to the channel, and I'm going to be bringing you 3 different versions of Surgical Ice Golems in a CWL recap. Show you some do's, some don'ts. I failed twice. 5 for 7 in C2, not good, but managed to swag 42 spells in the process. Just gonna say it, there's absolutely no better way to swag spells than the third version of this strat that doesn't require a giant arrow or a fireball opening. And what I mean by opening and required is there's a lot of multi-targeting defenses now, a lot of problematic defenses that the AQ can't reach. So, for example, this base, isolated monolith bases, the monolith the AQ would not be able to reach. So we just use the giant arrow, hit the monolith, and use 2 EQs and 3 zaps to get rid of the monolith. And now we're just powering our AQ with the everlasting warden rage vial, just sprinkling in some ice golems to distract defenses in front of her so we don't have to use any spells. Ice golems, a replacement for spells. And notice we used rocket loons at 12 and 6 o'clock archer towers, and this was just to set up a nice little funnel. So now this was a symmetrical base. It didn't matter if the queen went up or down, she went down. So now we're just meeting up our BK with the AQ. This is instrumental to the strategy because we need the BK to get out in front of the AQ, help tank for her, and also uses EQ boots to open up the walls to give the AQ access to the core of the base, because this attack is essentially one giant AQ charge. It's a giant AQ charge with a parallel RC Spirit Walk on the outside edge to keep the AQ on the inside tanking for the RC. We got the RC on the outside edge now, a nice golem to distract for her, Spirit Fox so that the RC can go invisible, and that's very key. Sometimes an outside expo will lock onto the RC and skip off the queen, so then the Spirit Fox makes the RC invisible again. Expo will retarget something else, and then the RC can scoot up, take out the defense, and see how she's keeping the AQ in the core of the base, and they're just working together. And this is absolutely the best way to synergize your hero equipment in the game. You use the most powerful hero in the game, which is the AQ, power her with a Warden Rage Vial, have the Eternal Tome on the Warden to protect the AQ in times of need, have the BK out in front with Spiky Ball and EQ boots, and then RC with Rocket Spear and Electro boots. And notice how the AQ is starting to get shredded by that Firespitter. That will be a common theme throughout these hits. You want to come in from behind Firespitters. Archer Queen has a much shorter reach than the Warden, so she has to step up closer to her targets, and when she does, she brings her healers with her, and she brings them right in range of the Firespitter. So always make sure to come in from behind a Firespitter. Yeah, this strat is just a giant AQ walk, and I'm trying to show some of these common bases that show up in war all the time so you can recognize these and take them out yourself. And this strat, Surgical Ice Golems, with the 3 versions, the Giant Arrow Zap, Fireball, and then not needing either of them. The Giant Arrow Zap one is the most base specific, and I save that one for isolated monolith bases. Fireball version, that works on any base, and then the one that requires no Giant Arrow or no Fireball, that is again highly base specific. You have to find bases where you do not need a big opening, where the AQ charge is all ready to go, you don't have to prime the base for it. And you'll see 2 of those at the end where you're able to swag all 14 spells. There's no other strat in the game that will allow you to swag all 14 spells, because this is all based on the strongest hero equipment in the game and just timing and distraction. It's truly a really fun strat, so I highly recommend you get used to every single version of it so you can identify bases and just absolutely wreck some bases. Anyways, this one, another isolated monolith. Just gonna zap it out with a giant arrow. And I'm gonna swag 5 spells in this, and notice it took 5 spell space to zap out that monolith, so if you wanted, you could just bring 2 extra lightnings to zap out the monolith without using the AQ giant arrow, and then you would have the AQ magic mirror and giant in the core, which is absolutely deadly underneath the Warden Eternal Tome. And you'll see that in replays 5 and 7. So yeah, BK meets up, opens up the core, sending in some rocket loons to test for some traps. I got Sneezy in behind on the Warden to help test out some of these red air bombs. The only problem, that Sneezy can do is the projectiles can sometimes lure fire mites to your healers. Since the AQ again has a short reach, when she walks to the side, she doesn't walk or jump over walls like the warden does, so she'll walk to the sides of the base, and the projectiles will often be behind the healers, and they'll go over the walls into the base, lure the fire mites directly to the healers, so that's another thing to watch out for. This, I would say, is more of an end game strat when you've gotten a little bit bored of everything else and you are looking for something that keeps you highly involved throughout the entire raid. So yeah, coming in, synergizing, RC on the outside again. Got this one giant, one ice golem. Notice how they're just tanking, and that was a mistake there since the ricochet cannon targets 2. I should have just waited. So now ricochet cannons all froze up. Archer Queen deals with it. Ricochet cannon is one of the pinnacle defenses that you will want to assign an ice golem to, because a ricochet cannon is deadly in 2 different ways. Ricochet cannon will target your AQ and then skip to your warden, kill your warden, and it will also target your RC and skip to the Spirit Fox, and you want to keep your Spirit Fox alive. Otherwise you'll have to waste some invisibility spells. This is the first fail. See, I have an isolated Monolith. However, notice these Firespitters. Firespitters are going to be facing towards me if I break in to that first compartment. So I got the bright idea of I would just AQ walk all the way around the base, use some rocket loons to direct target these scatter shots that would stop the AQ from going either above or below, and then I would break in behind the Firespitters and go towards the town hall. However, this army, there's really not much power aside from your AQ and your RC. So this, and in this replay, I got about 3/4 into the raid and realized I wasn't going to have enough time to finish, so I had to put the RC on the opposite side of the AQ so she couldn't synergize. So yeah, that's how crazy this strat is. Notice there's a regular golem to help tank these expos and this multi-gear tower. AQ powered by the warden again. Every strat, it's all the same hero equipments. The only thing that's different in these strat types is the opening. So for this one it was the giant arrow zaps. For I believe replay 6 it will be, or 6 and 8 it will be a fireball, and I will timestamp all these. And then 5 and 7 won't need any of them, and then we'll swag all 14 spells. So see how direct targeted the scatter shot to keep the scatter shot from targeting the healers. And now wrapping around, coming in behind this Firespitter. Notice the Firespitter range, able to keep these healers just out of harm's way. So yeah, this was a very risky attack. And what made it risky was having to do an extended AQ charge, a huge AQ charge around the outside of the base to come in from behind the Firespitters. So yeah, when you're using base identification, you want to make sure to come in behind the Firespitters, and often earlier is better. So BK meets up, opens up the walls, it's not going too bad. However, I'm starting to realize that time is not on my side, and I'm going to time fail this even if I get close. So I'm scanning around looking for places to drop the RC. I would have to put the RC directly at that Archer Queen, enemy Archer Queen, the Ricochet Cannon. I probably should have done that right away. I maybe could have saved it. My AQ goes down. I missed the Warden ability to keep her alive. That's another thing. If my AQ would have stayed up, it would have been a lot closer. And notice this Firespitter roasting the healers, Inferno Tower roasting the healers. So now using a wall break, trying to get this Ice Golem in. Ice Golem to tank, slow down this enemy AQ. A lot of times you can use nice Ice Golem to slow up enemy heroes and slip in some headhunters. But yeah, too much base left. Just a outright fail at this point. Would have been a time fail anyways. But yeah, this is how crazy this strat can be. So I want to stress base identification. If you don't have a good feeling, you feel like the base isn't properly set up for it, might be best to use drags or RRs. However, drags, RRs are maybe 1/50th of the fun that this is. So yeah, this is an end game strat when you're bored of everything else and you want to just do as intricate of a plan as you can. Here, boredom got the best of me again, and I over-designed an attack. This easy base should have absolutely been destroyed, but I got the bright idea that I was going to fireball, giant arrow, the town hall, and then also giant arrow both of these Firespitters. And I even knew that both Firespitters weren't going to go down because there's a builder hut that I cannot reach with the EQs to distract it. So I got the Flame Flinger started up first. This is a time fail. And had I known that I was going to swag 14 spells later, I would not have done the strat. So just using some Yetis, take out some of these side defenses so that I can direct target the Town Hall with as few invisibility spells as possible. Take out a Builder Hut. You want to take out Builder Huts if you can, because Builder Huts, they get one shot of repair on the Town Hall. The Town Hall will not go down to your 3 EQs and your Giant Arrow and your Fireball. So trying to stall up that Builder Hut with the EQs, Giant Arrow comes through, Zaps come down, see that Builder Hut already had repaired that Firespitter, so now have to come in from behind the Firespitter, letting the AQ do some work, trying to let the AQ take out as many defenses as possible for the invisibility spells. Got 6 Rocket Loons left. Just going to use 1 Viz on the right side for that Expo. Now direct target, able to take out the Town Hall. And now, just like the other ones, it's a giant AQ charge that is supported by Ice Golems freezing up defenses. BK attempts to walk around on this base, but again, time is going to get the best of me on this one. So just sprinkling in Ice Golems. Had some traps come up, kill all these healers. That's never good. Sneezy was not doing his job. AQ pushing in. Danger right now. AQ is attempting to walk past the Firespitter. So I'm going to have to send my RC in towards the Firespitter. BK working on the outside edge. Now we're getting stalled up by some Ice Golems and Furnaces, or Fire Mites, which, if AQ charge wasn't difficult enough at Town Hall 17, Supercell really made it difficult by introducing Fire Mites. So now direct targeting some defenses with this Rocket Spear, trying to get RC into the Monolith compartment. BK Spiky Boots, dropping down the Skeleton spell on the Monolith. Rocket Loons to help the AQ deal with this Ricochet Cannon, damage it faster. Got 1 invisibility spell left, and about to time fail. So yeah, these hits were from 2 CWLs ago. Almost got it. But yeah, after this one, the next version is the one that you can swag 14 spells with. Alright, so this is actually an Itsu base. I believe it's the second one that he has recently put out. And I hit this before. My friend Biscuits, he got this base right away. And first attempt on this base, I did 10 spell swag. And I saw it in War, did 13 spell swag, but wasn't able to do the full 14 because the enemy CC had headhunters. So then finally finding this base again, was able to do the full 14. So coming in, gonna set up some pathing for the Flame Flinger, and this is a weaker style base, or weaker base because the defenses are a little bit low. However, I also did a full 14 spell swag on this on a maxed out base, exactly like this. So it definitely works, and what makes it work is there's no danger for our AQ charge right away. See this nice little channel from 3 down to 6? That is a free AQ charge. We have no multi-targeting defense. The scatter shot can't reach the healers. We don't have a multi-archer tower that can reach the healers. We don't have an Inferno that can reach the healers. And we're coming in behind both Firespitters. So if you can recognize a base like this, you can absolutely just destroy it. And you don't have to... I brought these spells just to be able to make a huge smiley face. You can bring 2 Rages and Overgrowth. You can pretty much bring whatever spells you want with some invisibility spells and just absolutely destroy. So anyways, AQ, Warden, Rage Vial powering her, powering the healers to keep her healthy. Got this Ricochet Cannon. We're going to direct target, try to take it out with the Rock Loon, managed to get it. BK in the core, dealing with the CC. Important thing with the Phoenix. Phoenix also helps test for air traps, but notice how the projectiles from the Sneezy is going to the right. Those often can lure the enemy CC, and if it's a furnace and your AQ is pathing to the left, pathing away from the CC, the projectiles will actually lure the fire mites right to your healers. It only takes one fire mite to kill all your healers. Anyways, we got the AQ in the core. AQ is running Magic Mirror with Giant Giant. We have Giant Giant to tank. Notice AQ is about to go to ability. So in this version, since we don't have to use the Fireball for the Warden or the Giant Arrow for the AQ, we have two levels of protection for the AQ. One being the AQ ability with the Giant Giant and the Magic Mirror, and the second being the Warden Eternal Tome ability. So that's what makes this possible, to absolutely destroy base without using any spells. Ice Golems to distract defenses, the most powerful hero equipment synergy in the game. Like, there's no beating it. And just base identification. And I can't stress this enough, base identification. If you can identify bases, especially in war, now with these instant armies, you can just absolutely destroy them at Tunnel 17. No need to do a mass army. Just do a nice little AQ charge and just completely obliterate one. Alright, so here's the Fireball version. Fireball, exactly like the Giant Arrow version, exactly like what we've seen. However, this base needs some extra priming to get our AQ charge started. And with this one, I want to Fireball this scatter shot right below the clan castle. So I want to get all that goodness out right there. Specifically that one Firespitter, because I want my AQ to come in from the bottom right and push up towards the town hall. And that way she'll be in behind the top Firespitter. Right now, using a Yeti, targeting that wizard tower. And the great thing about using a Yeti instead of two rocket loons on that wizard tower is that the Yeti was strong enough to kill the wizard tower, and then the Yeti mites flung forward and then hit the air defense. So now I'm able to direct target this Expo with 4 rocket loons and free up a bunch of free buildings for this flame flinger to get. So now that that's all set up, it's time to go in with the Warden, dropping in 1 Ice Golem just to make sure this multi-gear tower doesn't take out my Warden right away. Maybe wouldn't have needed that if I drop a rage right away, but I'm trying to conserve a couple spells at least. Save the rage for when I have to go up against the Monolith. Sent in a 2nd Ice Golem, and rewatching these like a month and a half after these attacks were done was pretty wasteful opening. Anyways, so waste again with the skeleton spell. I could have just raged, saved the skeleton spell for the back end. However, here we go. Maybe it's okay because we ran into a skeleton trap of our own. Stalled up the Warden anyways. So we got some wizards just helping to clear some of these trash buildings. They're actually clearing up too many trash buildings. It's nice to have trash buildings left over to keep your Warden on the outside edge, targeting them after the Angry Jelly wears off. So Warden's going to get through this Monolith, making invis, going to target this scatter shot. Everything goes down, and now, since I don't have these outside trash buildings, the Warden moved up to this air defense, and I wasn't able to pull the Warden with the AQ to let the Warden Rage Vial power the AQ. So now I'm just sending the BK in, and I'm going to have to send in some Ice Golems. Luckily, I have the Unicorn on the AQ, so even though the AQ is going the wrong, or the Warden's going the wrong way, the AQ will still get some healing effect. And notice how weak the Warden is by himself. I have to invest all these invisibility spells, this rage spell. If he would have went with AQ, would have been right into the core, and BK would have used his ability right off the bat and popped open that core and just taken everything out. So now it's just on the fly adapting, and that's another nice thing about the strat. A lot of times you can on the fly adapt. So right here we have a ricochet cannon, and we have a wizard tower right next to the ricochet cannon, and that is prime for an Ice Golem. Ice Golem's going to stay there. Ice Golem really does no damage on the defense, so we just set it next to that wizard tower, knowing that when it dies, it will freeze up the ricochet cannon. BK ability, just speeding things up. RC coming through, and only 2 spells swagged on that one because the Warden went the wrong way, because I put too many wizards down and the wizards cleared the trash buildings. If you want to help, or if you want to deal with skeleton spells when they pop up and they're distracting your Warden, it's often best just to drop down 1 or 2 archers so that they don't eat through all the outside trash buildings. So when you're ready to do the Fireball, the warden will be distracted on outside buildings and he won't push into the core and die, and he'll also have outside buildings to stall him up so that your AQ can pull him to wherever direction you want to go. So you can kind of see the spell setup for this. It's a little ridiculous with skeleton spells, and the skeleton spells are there just strictly because they last longer and they're going to look cool. This is a very common base. I've hit this base a few times before this with the giant arrow. Notice the isolated monolith? You can do it that way too. So you can put your AQ at 9, direct target that monolith with some EQs and some zaps and the giant arrow, and then path in. But I got the idea that I would be able to set the flame flinger up here at 12, let the flame flinger work down towards that ricochet cannon, and that I would be able to start the AQ charge opposite down here at 6 and have the AQ work up towards 9. And then if I was to remove defenses between the AQ and the monolith, I would be able to direct target the monolith with 5 rocket moons, so I wouldn't need to use the AQ ability or 5 spells on the monolith. So I assumed that I was going to be able to swag 14 spells on this base because I'd hit it before with the giant arrow zap version and did not need a single spell after taking out the monolith. So this was an attempt, first attempt to try to get this to go down. And notice this Yeti over here? The Yeti's job is to try to get this archer tower out of the road because we want everything out of the road so that the rocket loons can direct target the monolith. Sending in this rocket loon to help distract. Notice the Yeti mites. Yeti died at the right time. Yeti might spring over towards the monolith. AQ steps up. Warden steps up. Everything's okay. The one dangerous thing right now is the Expo on the bottom side was targeting the warden. So now we're sending in the BK, and he's doing a nice funnel to meet up with the AQ, so that way they can both push in to the base underneath Warden Rage Vial and Warden support with the Eternal Tome. Got an Ice Golem in the core to help stall up. Immediately trying to figure out what the enemy clan castle is. It looks like everything's okay. Notice this Firespitter down here will be able to reach the AQ and potentially the healers. So I'm trying to send in some rocket loons to direct target to eliminate it. However, it did not work. So right now I still have AQ ability, still have Warden ability, the Eternal Rage Vial, which is just absolutely insane. So we'll be able to use the Giant to tank, Magic Mirror to absolutely destroy, and the Warden Eternal Tome to protect everything. So we're now sending in some Ice Golems to help distract for the RC, and a lot of times most of the Ice Golems are for the RC to target these ricochet cannons and multi-targeting defenses on the outside of the base. So go to AQ ability, Magic Mirror, Giant, all under Warden Eternal Tome. So now they're tanking for the RC as well. So this strat, it's just all about tanking, distracting for your heroes, using the absolute best hero synergy just to get as much value and to use as few spells as possible. It's a lot of fun. Highly recommend you give it a try. And this base is everywhere, so when you see this base, you'll know exactly how to just destroy it. And if you want a safer way of eliminating that base, bring some invisibility spells. Only reason I didn't bring invisibility spells is that they only last 4 1/4 seconds. So it's harder to get them into a nice smiley face. Back to the fireball version. We have this invisibility spell compartment. This is on my mini, or recently minted Town Hall 17, and I'm seeing that if I use a fireball and take out that bottom right compartment, the invisibility spell compartment, I'll be able to just meet the AQ up and walk all the way around the base. So sending in a Giant to test for this flame flinger, and if you're in, so this is Champs 3, if you're in Champs 3 or like Masters, you will find some bases that you can absolutely just destroy. This is, I believe, 12, maybe 12 or 11 spell swag, we'll see. So I just test for some Teslas, one invis, dropping in the Warden. I did not have Sneezy up, so I'm using Owl. And notice I'm able to also reach the enemy clan castle from the outside. So yeah, champs 3 bases, a lot of bad building. So using a giant to pull these, and my goal is to get these enemy CC troops towards my AQ before she encounters the multi-archer tower and the expo. However, my timing was off, so now the ice golems are going to stall up my AQ, and my AQ is just going to sit here getting shot by the multi-archer tower and the expo. So I sent in an ice golem so that the multi-archer tower and the wizard towers and the Tesla can kill it to freeze up the multi-archer tower and the expo. Now sending in another ice golem, so when these defenses thaw, they will again target another ice golem and not my AQ. So sending in the BK, going to try to work him into this compartment with the enemy BK, multi-archer tower, or multi-inferno tower, sending in an ice golem to help tank for him, opening up both compartments. The BK EQ boots will be able to open up everything for the AQ and to get this town hall as well. So sending in that ice golem frees up the monolith, help protect the BK. BK is walking up. Go ahead and use the EQ boots, and I wanted to let him get to the wall so the EQ could help damage that monolith a little bit more. AQ steps up towards the town hall, and you can see this base is done. Probably wouldn't have even needed to use the RC, but time again. This is a very slow strat, and that's why normally in the fireball version and the non-giant arrow or fireball version, I like to bring 2 rage in the army comps. And in the comps that I share, I will include the normal comp. This comp I'm just bringing haste because they last longer, they make good eyes, and yeah. So yeah, definitely give this a try. It's a crazy strat. If you're in lower league, you will absolutely destroy with this, and you can honestly replace the ice golems with pretty much anything. Giants also work really great, and regular